Toyota's national sales event is happening now with great deals on a wide range of cars, like a sporty new Camry or stylish Corolla, both available with all-wheel drive. Visit buyatoyota.com for more. Toyota, let's go places.
I find that request inappropriate, you dirty, dirty boy.
Eavesdroppin.
Hello, Michelle. Testing. Are you there?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Ground control to Major Mish.
That's me. Thanks. Yes, I wouldn't mind being Major Mish.
Would you?
That could work.
What, because you want to be in control? You want to be bowed down to? Bow down to me, you beasts.
Do you know what? I've said this a number of times over the past few podcasts. The older I get,
the less flexible you become.
It's not even about
in many
flexibility.
ways.
It's more about the older I get, I don't want to be a team player. I just want to be in charge.
It's all about you.
It's all about me. I like being in charge. I'm good at leading. Less about being a team player. I like to distribute.
Bad at compromise. Yeah.
No, I can compromise.
Okay.
I just prefer to be in charge and have it done my way.
Do it my way. Fair enough. Well, you know what? That is every narcissist's dream, Michelle.
Oh, my God. Rude. Already.
By the way, I think I need to just say something right here, right now. I'm Geordie.
And I'm Michelle. And you're a bloody eavesdropper because you're listening in on us.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, guys, but you're in it now for the long haul. You decided to choose this podcast. And well done to you. We are congratulating you. You can listen to our conversation.
Yes.
We're not going to guarantee that you'll, follow along all the way through. It can get a little bit out of control, maybe.
Out of hand. But
out of hand.
I don't mind that.
I don't either.
I don't mind it.
It's like we've just sat on top of one of those rides, at Chessington World of Adventures or something. Let's call it Tiger's Rock. That's a good one. You get into that. It's like a little boat at the top of a thing, and you get in, and it's all nice, like a little log kind of cabin.
Okay.
You sit in it like a log, and off you go, and it's nice, and you're looking at the tigers and the beautiful sounds, and then all of a sudden, you go up really steep, and then you drop down.
Yes.
And it feels like you're dropping to your death. And you scream so loud you don't know if it's you.
So to relate that back to this podcast, they're listening and they're
not quite sure.
And they are going up, steep, and then
something happens.
And the bottom falls out of it.
The arse falls out of it.
The arse falls out of it. Okay. All right.
That's what happens.
But it is.
Some of you don't mind it because you keep coming back for more. Good on ya.
Well done. We love you, and especially love our patrons.
Oh, do we love you? Oh,
we do.
So much.
We do. If I could do one of those, how all the kids do
heart
the
emojis,
heart emoji in our IRL.
I can do half and you can do half. If somebody would know how to teach us how to do YouTube, we could also do that one time. I've heard from the kids it's the only way to listen to podcasts.
It's on the YouTubes.
Yes, personally I prefer it in my ears. I haven't got time to sit there and watch idiots chatting away.
But we have talked about this and we can do it. We can. The problem is I always look disgusting. Case in point today.
She's always in that grey robe.
I haven't got the robe on today.
That's a peach cardigan.
It is actually an orange...
Tangerine fleece.
Tangerine fleece. I'm in the mountains, so I've got a fleece. And I got in trouble about this fleece the other day, but that's a different story.
Well, how could you get in trouble?
Well, it was a gift from Andreas, and look, I don't mind having a fleece.
Yeah, fleeces are
I would
fine.
never have bought this colour.
Ah.
His sister said, "Oh, do you have a fleece I could borrow?" I went, "Oh, yeah, it's not the best." Well, Andreas heard this.
Oh, God.
Oh, it did not go down well. And I did mean the colour, but she said, "I love that colour."
Well, maybe it suits her better than you.
Yes, I think so. She's a fair-haired lass.
I do think it comes down to the colour of the skin with that particular shade of burnt skin.
Burnt skin colour. What colour do you call that? Burnt skin.
Burnt flesh.
Burnt flesh. Yes. Oh, my God. It sounds revolting. And do you know what? If we were on the YouTubes, people could see it. Maybe we've got to think about this. Maybe we have to put vanity aside and just record
come as you are.
And then you could hear this episode, in fact, all episodes, warts and all. No editing.
That might be fun. Also might be quite painful.
Yes, but if you're watching, it feels really like you're eavesdropping. Farting.
Farting?
Sneezing. Farting. farting, sneezing, all of it.
Just for the record, listeners, I'm not the one that farts, okay?
What?
Well, I'm not farting.
I think you have.
Not on the podcast, I haven't.
Well, it's because it's been edited out.
I think you have.
Rip.
I've never farted on the podcast, Michelle. I've never farted whilst talking to you. Let's just put it that way. I'm pretty sure. Maybe accidentally, but not loudly.
SBD, silent but deadly.
I wouldn't have even risked that. I'm just not that kind of person.
Oh, do you know what? I used to be a non-farter and now I just let them rip. I let them out.
Yeah.
Better out than in. Actually, that's a phrase I wish I'd never said to my partner because
I've heard, yes. Now he
cannot
can't
stop. And then he just does a little shrug and he said, you told me to. One time, 9 years ago.
You said it was okay.
We just celebrated our 9-year anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Oh.
Now,
Yes.
have you been watching anything good on telly?
Right. What have I been watching? Oh, dear.
Oh, no.
Oh, they've put Below Deck on Netflix.
Oh, God.
A previous season, because I've only just discovered it. I am ripping through that.
Okay.
I thought, I don't care. I don't need any more reality in my life, any more reality TV.
Okay.
But of course, when you come home from a hard day's work or whatever, and you need to just turn off your brain, I just get right into it. Seeing the ostentatious guests is my favourite. The way they treat the staff.
Ooh.
Appalling. Get me a vodka and soda. Call me the queen. You know,
Yeah.
all of this kind of thing. It's ridiculous.
Yes, but there are people who are like that, and there are people who are people pleasers who work in those industries who just
Because they want the big tip at the end.
Well, sometimes you don't even get the tip, and I know about this. But it's interesting. I was out recently on a hen do, and I have to say, 2 blow-up dolls, a lot of dicks, a lot of penis straws.
Oh.
We had penis guns.
Oh, you went trad.
Oh, yes. There was nothing classy about this hen do.
This was not a second or a third wedding. This was an inaugural
This was
first-timer.
a first-timer. And do you know what? It was a lot of fun. And we had that blow-up doll all through the streets of the various small
God.
villages in Switzerland here. And people loved it. We got a lot of honks from cars and all sorts of
Wow.
things.
Of course. It's the equivalent of seeing one of those circular cycling units going down the streets of London. They're all sitting on a circular thing, cycling, drinking beers. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Well, there were a lot of shots, a lot of drinking.
What was your favourite shot?
Well, I'll tell you the shot that was not my
The
favourite.
cocksucking cowboy.
No, these were all, I mean, we were on the cheap. We brought our own bottles of shit.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, we did go to bars, but it was an all-day thing. It started at 9 a.m.
Oh,
Home at midnight.
that's a long day.
Not even joking. It's a long fucking day. I actually drank myself sober. That's how much booze there was. But we started the day, and this was at 9 a.m., where we surprised the bride, because what they do here is they kidnap the bride. So she had no idea. She got kidnapped and just taken on this day of wildness. And
So
that's
there's
what
no
they do here.
spas, no nice relaxing massages or anything, an eye mask.
We were meant to go on a fucking raft.
Oh,
Whitewater
That's
rafting.
ridiculous.
It got cancelled because the water was too high and too
God.
strong. And I thought, thank God, because you would have had 12 pissed up bitches in a raft. That is health and safety issue right there.
Yep.
We started the day with this shot. It was mint flavoured.
Oh no, what's that? Creme de menthe?
Mintu.
No, I'm not having that.
Fucking European shit. And it was like having a shot of mouthwash. Horrible.
Thank you, but no.
And they were all like, woo!
God.
Like starting the day. Yeah.
I'd rather be on tequila, feeling myself slowly passing out as the day wore
Yes.
on.
Well, I was obviously a little bit elevated because I'd brought champagne and
Oh,
strawberries.
you fancy bitch.
I was a fancy bitch and I had champagne, strawberries and macarons. The others had penis cupcakes, so I really didn't get the memo of the level. But honestly, we had a
Were
great
you wearing
day.
a frock?
I did. I had a dress. I also missed this memo.
Jeans and t-shirt.
No, they were all in cut-off shorts,
Oh.
cut-off jeans shorts. And I mean, I have those, but I didn't realise what it would
Didn't
be. I
know.
did not know. Look, it was an absolutely fantastic day. But circling back to how we got onto this, it's because one of the girls who is absolutely fantastic, she's a people pleaser. And I didn't know this about her because she's such a strong woman. But in her job, she was saying, I don't care. Whatever the guest wants, I will do it. You know, they want me to find someone to suck their dick. I'll find it.
Oh, my
If you
God.
want anything, I will do it.
Where does
I will
she
get
work?
it done. She works for a hotel. And I
okay.
thought, gosh, there are people out there. They're like, I don't fucking care what I do. I'll just get it done. I'll do it. Whereas I am like, no.
No, sir.
No.
I find that request inappropriate, you dirty, dirty boy.
I'm less of a people pleaser and I'm more of top dog person. I want to be in charge. This all came about because of Below Deck.
Below Deck, yes. What have you been watching? Something a bit more highbrow, I hope.
Well, actually, yes. I don't have a lot of time for TV at the moment, but every now and again, Andreas and I will just need an episode after we come down off a night at the restaurant.
Sure.
And we were searching for something to watch. I found a show on SBS.
Oh.
And we started watching it. It had a bit of Swedish or some Scandinavian thing to it. So it was called So Long, Marianne. I did not connect this with the fact that that's the name of a Leonard Cohen song. So we started watching it and the first episode was absolutely great. So we kept going. Actually, it became a little iffy, like some of the episodes. But what I did love about the series was that it was about this woman, Marianne, Ihlen, and Leonard Cohen, and their time in Hydra in Greece. Greece was absolutely fucking stunning. We need to go back there. There were so many legendary people depicted in this series. That's when I came to you and I said, how about we do an episode on muses?
Muses. So it's real life.
Real life, yes. It's not true crime and it's not supernatural.
It's not supernatural.
It's real life. So I'm going to look at this Norwegian woman called Marianne Ihlen. But
we've got some friends in Hydra right now, actually.
Oh, do
some
you?
Listeners, Bethany and Tristan.
Oh, lovely.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, hi.
Enjoy Hydra.
It made me want to
I've
go.
heard it's very bohemian. I can't wait to go.
I think it used to be, definitely. And we'll talk a little bit about that.
In Leonard's day.
But before I start, I do want to say a little something about muses because in some ways I actually have a real problem with the whole idea of women being muses.
Yeah.
When people use the term muse, it's applied to women, especially in creative kind of contexts.
Inspiring men.
Yeah, in relation to a man.
Yeah. I've got the same problem, Michelle.
You scratch the surface and this whole idea of a muse is tangled up with patriarchal assumptions about creativity and authorship of creativity and agency, particularly in the worlds of music and the visual arts. I think labeling a woman as a muse often undermines her own creativity and her own creative identity by positioning her as the inspiration for a man, usually a male artist.
Yeah, the woman behind the man, a bit like Nancy Reagan or Sharon Osbourne.
Yeah, I just feel like she doesn't have her own intellectual force or she's not seen as this autonomous artist.
Yeah.
So it is for me inherently an anti-feminist term. These women exist as a conduit for someone else's genius, i.e. a man, because the muse is not there to create, but who inspires that creativity. So with all of that said, and my strange relationship with this idea of a muse, I'm going to look at Marianne Ihlen.
Okay.
So before she ever became the Marianne of So Long, Marianne, and before Leonard Cohen, before this famous email that I'll get to later, and before Hydra, she was just this very pretty Norwegian girl living in post-war Oslo, trying to figure out what to do with her life. And she never set out to become anyone's muse because she wasn't a star fucker. She was just trying to do something interesting with her life at a time when it wasn't easy for women to do interesting things with their life. Marianne was born in 1935 in a tiny little coastal town called Lakrølen. Her mother had grown up quite privileged and she was the daughter of an opera singer. Her father was a lawyer, so they had privilege. And when the family moved to Oslo, they did well for most of her childhood. But then things weren't so easy because during the war, her father got tuberculosis and ended up spending a long time recovering. And her younger brother got TB and was sick for over a year.
Yikes.
And her mum, who had grown up sort of moneyed and had only been a wife and mother, ended up having to care for her husband and son. Marianne was sent to live with her grandmother and money was tight and the father never fully recovered. He couldn't manage sort of full days in court anymore and the mother had to go to work, which was not how she thought her life would go.
Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, Marianne went to a girls' school and then did business studies in Oslo, not because she had a passion for admin, but because she didn't know what else to do and it seemed practical. So she got that qualification, worked a few jobs. She was just trying to figure out what to do with her life. And then a guy called Axel Jensen happened to her. It was 1954. She was in a car with a friend driving through Oslo when this 22-year-old writer apparently waved them down and invited them to a party.
Oh.
And apparently Axel was charming. He had that whole kind of brooding writer thing going on and had a lot of great ideas, but real world guy, he was not. He was all kind of, head in the clouds. Yeah. But at the party, Marianne was totally sucked in by him. She thought he was fascinating and clever and they couldn't stop talking. And, they very quickly became a couple. He didn't have a lot of money. He was sort of picking up odd jobs while he was trying to make it as a writer. And he was reading Jung and Nietzsche and he was getting her to read them too. So she was sort of having her mind opened up and she really believed in him as a writer, even when her parents did not. They did not like him, her father especially. Yeah. And, he had no job, nowhere to live. He came from a broken home. But he really believed in himself as a writer and he self-published his first book and slowly started to get noticed. Marianne, meanwhile, was still wondering what to do with her life. And she sort of flirted with the idea of being an actress, but, she never really did anything. She was just sort of the yin to the yang of this guy.
Yeah.
But she did think, well, I just want to be with him. And she sort of shelved her ambitions to focus on the relationship. Axel then published a book, which did very well, had good sales. And she thought, great, things are going really well in the relationship. Let's settle down, get married. And they had talked about traveling together. And she thought, yep, we're committed. Except one night, out of nowhere, this guy Axel introduces her to this other woman and says, see you later. I'm not going to Greece with you. I'm going to Egypt with this other bird.
Oh, no.
Marianne was like, what the fuck? She went home alone and thought, oh my God, my whole life is upside down. We're not going to Greece. And then at 4 a.m, he shows up at her door and he says, it is you I want to be with.
Oh,
and
sorry,
let's
mate.
go to Greece.
No.
So despite the red flag that this guy is a piece of shit who was cheating on her, nearly dumped her ass, she's like, yes, let's go to Greece. So in November 1958, against her parents' wishes, Marianne Ihlen left home, boarded a train from Oslo with Axel to start their trip to Greece. And their plan was to spend a year abroad with Axel focusing on his writing. Fuck knows what she was meant to be doing.
Probably working in a restaurant or cleaning or something menial.
Just picking up odd jobs.
Keeping the fires going.
Well, it was his money from his books that was keeping them going. So she was just there as the girlfriend.
Probably just floating around then in a caftan.
I actually think I would fucking love that life. They got off in Hamburg, bought a second-hand Volkswagen Beetle, began their road trip through Europe via Venice and Rome, and then drove through Yugoslavia into Greece. They were on their way to Athens when Marianne had these abdominal pains and needed emergency surgery for an appendicitis in this tiny town called Lamia. Now, in the series, So Long, Marianne, you see Axel basically shagging a nurse while she's bedbound.
Oh,
and although it's speculation, the thing here is he was not a good guy. He had her as his muse and comfort blanket, but as soon as she's there, sliced open,
he's dipping his wick everywhere.
Exactly. After she recovered, they did go to Athens. They stayed with some Norwegian friends for a bit, and they were going to live there. But their friends said, listen, it's cheaper to live in Hydra. So they decided that's what they were going to do. And that's how Marianne ended up on that bohemian legendary island. They rented a house, but soon after, Axel used part of his advance from his publisher to buy a house. They paid $2,500 US for this beautiful, you can imagine, whitewashed Grecian
Stunning.
house. Yeah. But it was basic. They didn't have electricity. They had paraffin lamps, outdoor toilet. But I read somewhere that that same house today is worth tens of millions of euros. Look, they quickly became part of this big expat, creative writer community in Hydra. And they became friends with these Australian writers, George Johnston and Charmian Clift. I'm saying it correctly. It's not Charmaine. Yeah. It's Charmian.
No, I know Charmian, the name, yeah.
Also this Swedish novelist called Göran Tunström. During this time, Axel's novel was really taking off. So he was going back and forth between Norway and Hydra. Marianne was always staying in Hydra while he was away. On one of these trips, he met some woman called Sonia, became infatuated with her after 5 days, came back to Hydra in 1958, told Marianne, it's all over. I'm going to be with Sonia.
Scoundrel.
She's joining me on the island. I've paid for her trip to come out here.
Oh.
In a little move that did show that Marianne had some self-worth, she was like, fuck you. She went to Athens. She ended up working on a chartered boat, maybe a little bit like below deck for rich people. Yes.
Exactly like that. Yes, that's what she was doing. She was probably chief stew.
She wasn't. She was a deckhand. The chief stew was a couple who ran that boat.
With the captain and the chief stew.
Yes, and they were married. Anyway, she ended up shagging the guy.
What, the captain?
Yeah, I think he was the captain. I know. I mean, it was fine. He probably gave her a little bit of confidence.
Okay.
Thing is, Axel, who was meant to be with this woman, Sonia, he was waiting for her to come. Well, he kind of got catfished. Because she took the money for the flight he bought her, or whatever it was, and cashed it in. Cashed it in and never came. So he was apparently devastated, drinking himself stupid back in Hydra. He then went to Athens to try and get Marianne back. And I guess her confidence was not that good because he said, marry me. And she said, okay. And they were married on October 22, 1958, against the wishes of Marianne's parents.
Of course.
So then back on Hydra, she's just his muse. Axel's finishing the first draft of his next novel. Marianne gets pregnant. And when that novel was published later that year to great reviews and selling really well, they did have more money coming in, which was good because Marianne could then afford to go back to Norway to give birth to their son, Axel Joachim Jr., in Oslo in January 1960. But to evade the taxman, Axel went back to Hydra while Marianne stayed with her mum for 4 months with the baby. And by this time, in that 4 months, the Canadian poet and aspiring novelist who didn't yet know he was going to be a very famous musician, Leonard Cohen, arrived on Hydra. And he started renting a room for $14 a month, not bad, with Charmian Clift and her family. So Leonard and Marianne hadn't yet met. But one day while she was carrying water up to her house, Leonard saw Marianne. She didn't notice him. And he was instantly infatuated by this gorgeous, blonde, Norwegian woman. The first time they actually met was in early 1960 inside a place called Katsika's General Store, which was pretty much the only store on the island. And by this stage, Marianne was struggling emotionally, crying in the store, waiting to buy a bottle of water and milk for her baby because Axel's a dick.
Yeah.
And Leonard was so struck by this that he said, hey, come and sit outside with me and this group of creative expats. So she did. And she said that that moment was really emotionally transformative for her because I think she sort of saw the kindness of Leonard Cohen and realized there are all these people, singing. They're all, guitars and reciting poetry. And she thought, fuck, there's another way to live because obviously her marriage was falling apart. Axel had all but abandoned her and Axel Jr. Actually, he was off having a relationship with this American painter called Patricia Amlin.
What a piece of shit, honestly.
Not that he told Marianne about this. Oh, he's a total piece of shit. She eventually found all of this out. He said, I'm just going into Athens on business, but friends saw him with Patricia and told her, and she was like, oh, fuck it, But she loved living in Hydra, and she decided to stay there. So, kind of seeing his chance to worm his way in there, Leonard Cohen made his move on Marianne. That's when their relationship began. Meanwhile, side note, Axel and Patricia are off having this kind of affair of a lifetime. He's bought this Carmen Gia. They're driving all around Athens. She crashes it.
Oh, no.
She's in a fucking coma. Her body is fucked.
Oh, God.
Loads of broken bones, serious injuries, including gangrene, which led to the amputation of her thumb. And I think her face was like fucked. She wasn't pretty anymore. So what did Axel do?
He did a runner because he's like, see you next Tuesday.
Well, eventually, yes. But what he did was he sent Marianne a telegram saying, I'm in the hospital with Patricia and I just can't cope. You must come here and look after her.
No.
And she fucking did.
Oh, Marianne.
But she said to Leonard, listen, can you look after the baby?
Oh, shit.
And he did.
So everyone's doing somebody else's job at this point.
Yes.
Thanks to Axel.
I know. Axel the dick. Patricia did finally come out of the coma. Axel left her, obviously. Tried to get back with Marianne, but she told him, fuck off, I want a divorce. And he did sign over the house to her and Axel Jr. And
Good.
Marianne went back to a besotted Leonard Cohen who adored her and her son.
Oh.
So later that summer, she had to go back to Norway, but she thought, I can't do it with this kid. So she met these Norwegian SAS, like air crew who were on vacation in Hydra. And she said, can you take my son back? So they did. You wouldn't do that now.
What?
You wouldn't just let your son go on an aircraft.
Some people you just met.
With some people you just met. So they took her 6-month-old son
Oh, God.
back to Oslo to stay with the grandmother. And then she and Leonard, they had to go back to Norway because Axel had put some car in her name and it was subject to all of these taxes and it was affecting their ability to stay in Greece. So she was like, I have to return this fucking car because he's put it in my name. I don't know why he couldn't just sell it, but anyway. So they went back to Hydra. They palmed off the kid. Leonard got some inheritance from the death of his grandmother. He bought a house, $1,500 on Hydra. So Marianne sort of was moving between her house and Leonard's house, but they were just living it up without this kid.
Right.
And in November 1960, they drove to Norway, you know, stopping everywhere on the way. She went back to the baby. He went off to Canada. And they were apart for quite some time. And then in 1961, with Leonard working shitty jobs to get some money together, he did send Marianne a telegram because she ended up back in Hydra that read, have house. All I need is my woman and her son. Love, Leonard.
Oh, Leonard.
I think he's a good guy.
I hope so.
I mean, look, he's a shagger as well.
Right.
But she and her now 18-month-old son went to Montreal. Leonard had set up a home for them and they lived in Canada for a year before returning back to Hydra in 1963. And look, when they went back to Hydra, it all sounds very good life. You know, she's growing vegetables. She's helping Leonard with his creative work. And there's this picture actually of her in a white towel, obviously coming out of the shower or the ocean or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's at his typewriter. And it's a very famous picture. I'll put it on the Patreon for all of those people who are patrons. So she really was his muse. And she wasn't doing much other than just being a mom.
Yeah.
That was when Leonard wrote Bird on a Wire, which is one of his famous songs. But they were poems at this stage.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, Leonard, there's a bird on a wire. Write a song about that.
Right. So that's how she was his muse.
Exactly.
By basically feeding him
ideas.
Lines and ideas. Yeah.
And there were other songs that she inspired or, you know, gave ideas to. And one of them was obviously So Long Marianne, which was on his debut album, Songs of Leonard Cohen, that came out in 1967. Apparently he did initially write it as Come On Marianne, but as time went on and he realised their relationship was going wrong, spoiler, they're not still together.
Dang. Well, he's dead.
Dang, and he is dead. But yeah, he changed the words to So Long Marianne when he realised it was kind of over. But when he would perform that song on stage, he often said, I began writing it in Montreal and I finished it in New York and I didn't think I was saying goodbye, but I guess I was. She gave me so many songs. So, you know, she really did inspire lots of things. But back to 1963, when Leonard's first novel came out, it was published, it didn't do well, so he began work on his second novel, Beautiful Losers, which obviously went really well for him. But he was working between Canada and Hydra and trying to get jobs to fund their writing and fund Marianne and fund the baby and their life. And Beautiful Losers was published in 1966, but by that time, the couple's relationship was under strain, partly because he was traveling so much. And he's a shagger, he was, into loads of drugs and loads of ladies. And
sure,
I guess that wasn't too good for Marianne.
They just can't help themselves, can they, Michelle?
No, and actually, I don't think he had a lot of self-confidence. Because, he often thought that he was too skinny and ugly and that ladies didn't like him, the women didn't fancy him, and he didn't have a great view of himself. So I think that once he started to get a bit of acclaim and women were attracted to him, it's quite intoxicating.
Yeah.
But it didn't do much for Marianne, feeling secure about the relationship. Apparently she had 2 abortions.
Oh.
It just wasn't right time with her and Leonard. And also, she's not Jewish. Mama was never going to accept her. They did still try and make it work. She went back to Montreal and tried to, live there and get a job. And he went off to Nashville and New York, leaving her in Montreal. I mean, it's a lot of leaving each other
Traveling.
alone. Yeah, that running out of money. But anyway, he did write a song called Suzanne.
Yes.
It was about a woman called Suzanne Verdal. It was later made famous when a woman called Judy Collins recorded it.
I know Judy. I've seen her perform many times, actually.
Have you?
Yes.
If not for her, I don't know that Leonard Cohen would have had the career he had.
Right.
She discovered him. That didn't do much for his relationship with Marianne. And she was all kind of like, oh, what do I do? So she went off to do this LSD kind of find myself thing that didn't go well.
As you would, Yeah, why not?
And I think she was finding it a struggle to deal with her son. So she put Axel into Summerhill School in England.
Oh, no. Okay.
So you say, oh, no, but for anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of the original hippie school.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And it went wrong.
I don't know how wrong it went. You probably know more about it than me.
It's very similar to what we spoke about the Red House recently.
Right.
In fact, I thought that maybe it might come up in my research, but it didn't.
Okay. He went there. He didn't like it, but she kept him in there. And eventually she took him out, went straight from Summerhill into a strict Swiss boarding school.
Oh, gosh.
So I think this is one fucked up kid. 1968, while living alone in Hydra with Leonard away trying to make it and shagging around, Marianne met a 20-year-old Nick Broomfield.
Oh, the documentary filmmaker.
Exactly. And they had a nearly year-long relationship.
Oh.
And it was her who encouraged him to become a documentary filmmaker.
Oh, well, there you go. Another muse. Always the muse.
This woman's been the woman behind 3 successful men.
Yeah.
And basically, through her encouragement, he released his first film, Who Cares, in 1971. But anyway, the next year after that, in 1969, Marianne moved with Axel to New York, where Leonard was now living, and she hoped to get the relationship back on track. But Leonard was like, no, I don't want you to move in with me. I need to protect you from my lifestyle because fuck knows what he was doing, but it wasn't good.
Right.
And so she was like, what am I doing here? So she started selling handmade toys in the street. It was a bit of a shit life.
Wow.
The relationship was finally and properly over. But he did say, I'll continue to support you and Axel Jr.
Okay.
So he was the one who was covering Axel's schooling, probably at Summerhill and this Swiss boarding school, and all the travel. And he was introducing her to everyone, like Joni Mitchell and Andy Warhol and all of that set. She was really included in that social and artistic circle. But they did officially separate in 1972 after Leonard had a kid, Adam, with another Suzanne Elrod. And Marianne went back to Hydra, living in Leonard's house with Axel, who's 12 at this point.
Poor old Axel.
I know. And then one day, Suzanne Elrod shows up in Hydra and says, get the fuck out of my house. I'm bringing my son to live here.
No, but didn't she own it by then?
No, that she was living in Leonard's house.
Oh.
So I think she was probably making money renting her house.
Right.
It all went bad and that she got evicted. And I don't know actually what she did with her house, but she just thought, oh God, I need to go back to Norway. So she was sort of trying to live between Norway and Hydra and gently get on with her life after this chaos of a decade of being the muse to 3 men. And look, over the years, Leonard and Marianne did stay in touch through letters and visits when he went to Scandinavia and, all that kind of thing. She got backstage passes. He always did speak very fondly and with tenderness of their time together and often had gratitude for her. And Marianne then met a guy called Jan Kjellenstang, who was an engineer she'd known when she was younger, and they married in 1979. And she never had any more children, but he had 3 daughters. She actually worked with the oil rigs. She just had a very normal life after that.
Right. No more inspiring other men to great heights of fame
No.
and glory while she had to sell toys on the street.
No. But if you're wondering what happened to that kid, Axel
Yeah.
Jr. went on a trip to India when he was 15 with his dad, Axel, who gave him LSD.
Oh, fuck.
And he then developed severe psychiatric problems and spent most of his life institutionalized in Norway.
Oh, that poor kid, honestly.
I know. And apparently there's a documentary that came out in 2020 called Little Axel that looks at this. But I want to just close with July 2016 when Marianne was diagnosed with leukemia. And a close friend of hers called Jan Christian Mollestad emailed Leonard Cohen to tell him that Marianne was dying. And he responded with a short but tender email that went fucking viral. The whole world went crazy for this. The version of the email that many people saw online wasn't exactly how he wrote it. They were all secondhand kind of recollections. It started with this guy, Jan, who someone said, what did the email say? And he said, well, and he kind of paraphrased it, you know, making it a lot more than it was. It made out like Leonard Cohen had pined for Marianne and that she was his eternal love and that they were soulmates. But the actual text did read, and I quote, "Dearest Marianne, I'm just a little behind you, close enough to take your hand. This old body has given up, just as yours has too, and the eviction notice is on its way any day now. I've never forgotten your love and your beauty, but you know that. I don't have to say more. Safe travels, old friend. See you down the road. Love and gratitude, Leonard."
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now, 2 days after Jan read that letter to Marianne, she died, aged 81, in Oslo on the 28th of July 2016. And a few months later, on the 7th of November, Leonard Cohen died.
Oh, my gosh.
They died really close to each other, and I think a lot of people want this to be the love story of the ages.
Yeah.
You know, they've really put a lot onto it, but I don't think it was, but I think that there was a lot of tenderness and love of a different kind there over the years. And that's the story of Marianne Ihlen being Leonard Cohen's muse.
Well, it's an amazing story, and it's good that we shine a light on her life and talk about what she's given to us through Leonard Cohen and Axel and his dreary books and all the other things that she's done. Nick Broomfield and his dreary documentaries, but definitely Leonard Cohen. Yeah.
Well, actually, he made a documentary about, it's called Marianne and Leonard, and it came out.
Oh, did he?
He
likes to do those couples documentaries, doesn't he?
He did. I mean, it's a bit thin on the ground, apparently. I haven't seen it, but he did, and he makes reference to his relationship with her. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Toyota's national sales event is happening now with great deals on a wide range of cars, like a sporty new Camry or stylish Corolla, both available with all-wheel drive. Visit buyatoyota.com for more. Toyota, let's go places.
Eavesdroppin'.
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 Eavesdroppin'. Now, we can't talk about muses without going back to where it began, which is Greek mythology, Michelle. I'm surprised that you didn't touch on that, because the muses were 9 sister goddesses. They were all daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne, I don't know how you pronounce it. Sorry, I did know and I've forgotten. She was the goddess of memory. So where was she 2 seconds ago when I was trying to remember her fucking name? Jesus.
I need her. I need her to be my patron saint because I remember fuck all.
Where are you, Mnemosyne? Anyway, each muse represented a different side of human creativity. So very much what you said, Michelle, it covers the gamut of all of our kind of creativity, things like epic poetry, music, dance, love poems, flute, and astronomy were all covered. They were said to whisper inspiration into the ears of poets, dancers, historians, philosophers, guiding the arts and sciences from Mount Olympus. There was Calliope, who ruled epic poetry. There was Euterpe, who owned music. Terpsichore inspired dance. Melopene was the muse of tragedy, and Thalia was the muse of comedy.
Wow.
I don't know if that's 9, but that's just...
Some of them.
Maybe that's just some of them. The muses, they weren't just symbols, but they were the source of the creative fire. And did you know that the word museum comes from the word muse?
Oh.
It means the house of the muses.
No, I did not that. But I will say, in Greece, I went somewhere, God knows where, I went some museum, and I remember seeing very old paintings, and they were of muses, actually, now you say it.
Yeah.
And you saw these women with words coming out, and they were written going to the ear of a man. And it was very interesting because that's how they obviously got across the fact that she was influencing these men.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the history lesson.
Well, I think you have to touch on that if you're going to talk about muses. But where is our modern muse now? Who is our modern muse? I'm wondering this because with all these algorithms ruling what we see and, you know, what we consume in our media today, who is our modern muse? Which ones are inspiring artists now, giving ideas to fashion designers, getting filmmakers' juices flowing, etc. Before social media, in my heyday in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, there was a muse called Chloe Sevigny. She was a skater girlfriend and a grunge it girl. She was also a scandal magnet and an Oscar nominee. For this Muse episode, I tried to think of a muse for the modern era, and I could only come up with Chloe and how she defined indie cool for a whole generation and why 30 years later she's still doing it.
She is. It's interesting that you categorize her as a muse because I have always just seen her as a strong, cool woman in her own right. But I don't know the backstory. So this is really interesting for me.
She's inspired a lot of people, and this is what I'm going to go on to tell you. So first of all, let's start with Chloe being born November 18, 1974 in Springfield, Massachusetts. And then she was discovered in the 90s hanging out in New York's East Village by Sassy magazine, who called her the coolest girl in the world. So in a way, Michelle, you're right. Just by being cool and being her own sort of person with her own style, she was spotted. And then she was known for her thrift store, charity shop style, shaved head. She was really present in the art circles and the skate punk circles. And then through her boyfriend, Harmony Korine, she was part of the kids subculture.
Yeah.
And there was the director, Larry Clark, who put them in this film. And I think Harmony Korine wrote it. So maybe he was inspired by their real life relationship. I'm not sure. But she embodied the whole Generation X rebellion before it was even branded as such. Like I said, Harmony Korine, he wrote this really raw and controversial film. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's quite devastating, and she was quite standout in the film as well. It was a gritty portrait of New York City youth, and her vulnerability kind of stood out. Have you seen it?
I remember back in the day, she was all part of that whole Beastie Boys thing too, you know, that whole skater scene, and people were all talking about it. Like that's all they could talk about. And I actually don't know that I have seen it, but exactly as you said, it was very influential, devastating. People just talked about her and this whole Harmony Korine. So
none of them were actors.
No, they were all real life
kids
people.
off the street. And it was scandalous as well because it dealt with things like teen sex, drugs, HIV.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a prototype euphoria.
Yeah, probably. These things don't exist out of nowhere. From memory, it was shocking. People couldn't believe that it was made.
I'll give you a quick synopsis from what I remember. It's about a kid who sleeps with loads of girls, and he's continuing to do that throughout the film without knowing that he's HIV positive.
Yep.
And the devastation that wreaks upon these kids at the beginning of their lives, and they're all a bit hopeless. And I guess, I don't know, because I haven't seen it.
By the end of it, they're not kids anymore because they have to deal with very adult things going on in their lives.
Good point. Going back to Chloe, she emerged from that as a real standout, and she never followed trends. She was the trendsetter. So throughout the late 90s and 2000s, she did become a muse for fashion designers. Miuccia Prada, Marc Jacobs, Opening Ceremony, who also had her design capsule collections for them, and so many stylists and fashion editors who were all drawn to her kind of kooky, effortless, thrown together look. She blended vintage, avant-garde and normcore all before anyone even knew what those styles were. Now for the controversy.
Okay.
In 2003, she starred in Vincent Gallo's film The Brown Bunny. Have you seen that one?
No, but again, she's in these controversial films.
Yeah, she goes for it. And this is quite something, actually, because it premiered in Cannes and caused a major scandal due to an actual, not simulated, oral sex scene with the hideous Vincent Gallo. by Chloe.
Okay.
So as such, the film was widely criticised, and so was Chloe. She gave a blowjob on film.
Okay, so she ate a dick. You know,
she ate a dick and we got to see it, and it's not its porn film.
Yeah, but if you know that in advance, if you know that it's real and she's doing it, I don't know. I feel like we've all had porn so normalized. Back then, it would have been absolutely fucking
Maybe
scandalous.
Not.
But
exactly.
I mean, now it just feels a bit like, yeah, okay. But yes, back in the day when, you know, porn was still something you had to buy from a newsagent or rent it at Video Easy from the back shelves.
Oh, Jen, take that back, please. We don't want to watch Brown Bunny. There's real BJs.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So this ruined Vincent Gallo's career, by the way, but it did no harm at all to her cult status. In fact, it showed her as being really brave, transgressive, and loyal to underground art. So
good for her.
Completely undamaged. She went on to have a busy indie career after that. And she starred in Boys Don't Cry, which earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She was in a TV show called Big Love, which I never saw, won a Golden Globe for her role as a polygamist wife. She also appeared in American Psycho, Party Monster, Broken Flowers, and The Last Days of Disco, which are all indie cult classics. She still inspires designers and directors, which is essentially the job of a muse, crossing the worlds of fashion, art, film, and music. She's seen as completely authentic, and she just does what she wants to do. She's in something at the moment, which I don't know what it is. I saw an advert for her on a show, doing like a fake documentary. I don't know. I have to look that up. Put the Googles on. Get your Googles out. So like I said, she is still inspiring people. Generation X and Gen Z all love her still to this day. But Chloe was not the first of her type as an it girl stroke inspiration. In fact, comparisons were often made between her and Andy Warhol's muse, Edie Sedgwick.
Can I just circle back?
Yes, what's the TV show?
Well, I don't know which one you mean, because you know how Google now has like the AI overview?
Yeah.
Fuck me. Now it says she's currently in a Peacock series called The 5-Star Weekend, based on the Ellen Hildebrand novel. She was also part of the cast for the upcoming FX series Feud, Capote's Women, and she was in another Peacock series called Poker Face.
No, don't know.
And she's in a new series, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story.
Oh, yeah, she's the mother.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the mother. That's not what I'm talking about. It's something else. I'll find it and send it in.
We are who we are. No, anyway, all right.
No. So I'm going to talk about Edie Sedgwick now.
Yes.
The muse of Andy Warhol, with her silver pixie cut hair, coal-lined eyes, leotards, chandelier earrings. She was fascinating. She too was born on the East Coast into a wealthy family in 1943. She studied art and hung out with ballet dancers and eventually arrived in New York, where she met Andy and his factory gang. Andy Warhol cast her in many of his experimental films at the factory, such as Poor Little Rich Girl, Vinyl, Beauty Number 2. I haven't seen any of Andy Warhol's films. I don't think I could hack it.
Me either.
But basically there was no acting required. Just be yourself. So she transformed herself into a living piece of pop art for Warhol. She chopped off her hair, sprayed it silver, matched him, went on TV with him. They were inseparable. It said they had a strong platonic relationship, and he called her his superstar, which was not used as a term before then.
Right.
So he kind of earmarked that as a term. In fact, it was her who helped push that word into the mainstream. So she's a perfect example of the new style of celebrity, which is somebody who hasn't really done anything apart from hang around with people who are really popular and doing really well.
Famous, yeah.
And famous, yeah. Like an influencer maybe today, I don't know. So she embodied all of this youth culture in the 60s, the mod fashion. She was involved with Bob Dylan as well, inspired Vogue photographers. The Bob Dylan thing's alleged, by the way. He never owned up to dating her, but it's said in some references that I found that they went out for a few months and that he wrote songs about her, just like a woman, for example, and like a Rolling Stone.
Oh, ooh.
He's never owned up to that. But she did inspire the Vogue magazine editor-in-chief Diana Vreeland to call her a youth Quaker, because Diana Vreeland had come up with a term for all the young hipsters of the time.
Right.
And it was called the Youth Quake movement, where basically it was no longer the elite that dictated this. It was the people on the streets and in the clubs. And all of that stuff. But behind the scenes, Edie was struggling with addiction and mental illness. And in 1966, I think Warhol was quoted as saying, Edie was the best, the greatest. She never understood what I was doing to her, and I don't know what's going to happen to her now. So basically, after years of drug taking and wild parties on the scene, she seemed to be seeking a calmer lifestyle. She left the factory, got sober, met her future husband, Michael Post, in a psych ward while she was drying out from drugs. And I think he was as well. And then she had another film to make, which was inspired by her life, called Ciao Manhattan, in early 1971. She struggled to finish that. And then sadly, after they got married, about 4 months after they married, her and Post, she died of an overdose at 28 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if you can really call Sedgwick a muse rather than an it girl. If you want to know what a true muse looks like, you really need to go back to the art world.
Oh.
So going back to a time before Studio 54 and the Chelsea Hotel, there was Kiki de Parnasse.
Who?
Kiki de Montparnasse. So Kiki of Montparnasse.
Okay.
In Paris. She was born Alice Prin, and she was this bawdy, beautiful cabaret girl of 1920s Paris. And she was the muse of many painters, photographers, filmmakers. They were all drawn to her wild charm and her magnetic presence. People like Chaim Soutine, who's an artist, I expect, Moise Kisling, surrealist Oscar Dominguez, Amadeo Modigliani, Jean Cocteau, and most famously Man Ray, the avant-garde photographer who also became her lover. And you'll know her from her backside in that classic Man Ray piece of her as a violin.
Oh, yes,
Yeah?
it's her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, you'll know her. She's always got that bob. She looks a bit like Susie Sue. She's got this bob
Right.
and tiny little Cupid's bow lips and things. But for 6 years, Kiki and Man Ray were inseparable. She inspired him to paint and draw countless images of her. And every night before they would go out, he would style her up and paint her face the way he wanted. He'd photograph her like a living sculpture, with her looks constantly changing, but always iconic. She starred in his most legendary images, becoming a symbol for the surrealist movement. But she was an artist too, Michelle, believe it or not.
You see, but is she subjugating her own creativity and work
She's getting
to
more,
inspire these great men?
Well, she's getting more infamy and well known from being behind these men, but she's also front and center because she's the subject.
Yes.
Painted in so many different ways. But she had sellout exhibitions and she was painting in an expressionist style, but that never really gets a mention because her larger-than-life persona just took center stage. She was also a cabaret singer at Le Jockey Bar, which was the kind of place where all the cool crew would hang out, all the misfits and eccentrics and artists, all spilling their absinthe and yakking on about philosophy while she sang and fought and flirted in the background.
Good for her.
Yeah, go for it, Kiki. Sometimes she pushed things too far. There was, and I couldn't find much more info on this, but there was a particularly wild punch-up that she was involved in at a bar, which ended in her being arrested, and Man Ray just said, look, I've had enough of this. And he walked out on her for good.
Oh, okay. So maybe not the first time. She had some fisticuffs.
She was quite bawdy.
Good for her.
As the Roaring Twenties faded, so did Kiki's fame, and she struggled to find work. It reminds me a bit of Marianne when she's selling toys in the street, which broke my heart when you told me that part.
Yeah.
She went back to cabaret to fund her addictions to cocaine and alcohol, which was spiraling. And then in 1953, at the age of 51, she suddenly died after years of alcoholism and drug abuse had caught up with her. She collapsed on her own doorstep.
Oh, no. Oh,
So tragic.
Poor Kiki.
But her tombstone reads, Kiki, 1901 to 1953, singer, actress, painter, Queen of Montparnasse.
Oh, well, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know what? This does remind me of that Lana Del Rey song, Will You Still Love Me When I'm No Longer Young and Beautiful? And that's how I feel about these muses. You know, they are with these men in the prime of their life when they are young and beautiful and full of energy and ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe they're too bawdy. Maybe they're getting a bit old. Maybe they've put on a couple of stone. Who knows?
Yeah.
These men don't want them anymore.
No, exactly.
None of them, except really for Marianne. These women didn't have good ends, in a way. Like, Kiki didn't come to a good end, and neither did Edie.
Well, Marianne had a good long life in the end.
She
but
did.
She had some rough times as well, and not like wine and roses with
No.
the rest of them.
But I will say, I think it must be difficult, fucking difficult to be with these men. These men are full of ego. they are full of themselves and they are having their ego stroked by everyone. And to be the woman behind that, like, you need to be strong.
You do.
And I think it's a hard life.
I think it was too. And like we've both said, the artist profits, the muse becomes a legend, but usually at a cost.
And there's no financial gain for them from being a muse. None.
Well, the thing is, for Chloe Sevigny, her giving Vincent Gallo a blowy is there on film forevermore, but it didn't do her any harm.
No.
So she was all right. But there is one more artist, Frida Kahlo, who was indeed a muse, but also her art took on a world of its own. And I think she did all right in the end. And she actually famously said, I am my own muse, which was challenging the idea that women exist only to inspire male creativity. So good on you, Frida. We back that.
I didn't know she was a muse before she was herself.
Well, no, she was a muse probably around the same time before, like they're all struggling.
Yeah.
Who's the artist who's her husband? He was...
yes, Diego someone.
Diego, her husband, future husband. He was also an artist and he used her a lot, I think, in his paintings. Other people used her in paintings. But she was her own muse. She did a lot of self-portraits.
Yes, she did, famously.
Yeah.
With those eyebrows.
The one eyebrow.
The one eyebrow.
Yeah.
The joined up in the middle eyebrow.
Which works for her.
It did, but I would pluck that shit.
Would you?
I have.
You constantly do.
The odd stray one.
She's always at it.
No! Always with the tweezers.
Well, listen, Michelle, I feel like we've come to the end of the episode, but there is so much more to talk about regarding muses that we've dedicated this month of August to the muse over on Patreon. So if you'd like to go over there and spend a penny, so to speak, and find out more, you're welcome.
You can. And until then, there's really only 3 things left to say.
Wherever you are,
whatever you do,
just keep eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping, eavesdropping, dropping, eavesdropping, dropping, eavesdropping, eavesdropping, dropping, dropping.